Welcome to Equal Entertainment. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The creators of Friends are sharing their fond memories of Matthew Perry. They're sharing what made Perry so special, and it wasn't just his ability to make us all laugh. It was his ability to push the envelope. Take a listen.
Certainly, from a comedy standpoint, there are so many. I know he said in his book, I think it was, or in an interview, and it's one of my favorite moments when he talks. He says to Joey, he's talking about Joey has said something dumb, and Chandler talks about putting a Q-tip in your ear and stopping when you meet resistance, and the thing. But when I think about in terms of what Matthew was able to do, it wasn't just the funny stuff, but also the emotional stuff. And I think about the scene where he's proposing to Monica, and this character who we think of as being afraid of emotion and funny and using his sarcasm and his jokes as sort of to deflect things. And in that scene, he's so vulnerable and he's so open and so moving. And so actually in the last few days when I've been thinking about him, that's one of the scenes that always comes to mind.
He was like that as a person too. Funny, real, authentic, raw sometimes. He was able to imbue Chandler with these elements because that was part of who he was.
Elton John's primary residence in America isn't New York or Los Angeles, but Atlanta, and he just sold his condo in a record-breaking deal. The home sold for upwards of $7.2 million after only a few weeks on the market. That's the most expensive deal in the city's history, and it's about 45% more than the $5 million asking price. John's primary residence is in England, but the Rocket Man singer used his 13,000 square foot residence as his U.S. home base. He listed the condo for sale in September after finishing his farewell tour. The listing agent wouldn't say who bought it, but said that they are local and paid all cash. New Hope, Pennsylvania is an LGBTQ+ haven, and this year the Creative Hope Initiative is shining a light on their largely untold stories. They've commissioned 5 queer filmmakers to create 5 short documentaries. But that queer bohemian culture is being threatened by real estate development, as we learned from Joy Davenport's documentary, New Hope Rondo. Our Stephen Walker has more.
And your film, is there anything you'd like us to know or you hope the audiences will take away from it?
Well, I think there's 2 things. There's the historical lesson of the cyclical nature of this, that colonization, that gentrification is just colonization by another name in many ways. It's a cycle that started and never stopped, and we just started calling it different things as different groups of people were displaced. So to start in the present and go back in time and see that gear turning over and over again and just being like relabeled every century or so, I hope that people have an awareness of the long history of this happening. And just artistically, I want to play with that concept. That's why I called it a rondo, because like many concertos or symphonies with movements, you have 2 or 3 movements that play on themes, and then those themes get repeated in the end in the rondo section.
You can watch all 5 films live in an exclusive primetime presentation right here on the Advocate channel on November 6th and 7th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Download the Advocate channel app on your smartphone or smart TV for exclusive content, analysis, and interviews with the creators themselves. Again, that's November 6th and 7th at 6 p.m. right here on the Advocate channel. The stars of Fellow Travelers graced the cover of Out Magazine's September-October issue. Stars Matt Bomer, Jelani Aladdin, Jonathan Bailey, and Noah J. Ricketts are giving strong visibility to queer relationships. And Fellow Travelers is opening to rave reviews. The period piece follows a queer love story from the days of Joe McCarthy to the AIDS crisis. I spoke with show creator Ron Nyswaner. Hi, welcome Ron Nyswaner, creator of Fellow Travelers on Showtime. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Hey, Tracy, I'm really happy to be here. As I think I've told you, I love The Advocate.
Yes, well, thank you. I love your work, and I have to say that I watched all the screeners for Fellow Traveler, and I just ate it up. I really just tore through it. So congratulations on Fellow Travelers.
Thank you.
And I wonder, I know that it was a novel, and would you talk a little bit about your first encounter with this material and how it resonated with you?
Sure. It's been an 11-year-long journey. 11 years ago, when I moved to LA, for some reason around that time, I read Mr. Mallon's book, fell in love with the central relationship between Hawkins Fuller, which is the best name for a character I can imagine, and Timothy Laughlin, who are ultimately played by Matt Bomer and Jonathan Bailey in our show. And I love that story of, it's a love story, but it's a love story of opposites, of people who can't really be together. They don't see the world the same way. They have very different sort of ways of going through life. And it's also set at a time when, although love, I think, is always dangerous, you always have a chance of having your heart broken. But this was a time in the 50s in Washington, D.C., where having an LGBTQ relationship could mean the destruction of your life and your career. So I love I love a love story inside of a kind of a political thriller.
Yeah, absolutely. I would you talk a little bit about the challenges in adapting this, because it is set over a period of 40 years or so, and you've got the 50s, the 60s, the 70s and the 80s. So you're really going through the decades there.
Well, I fell in love with Mr. Mallon's book, which is set exclusively in the 50s. With the exception of a preface at the beginning of his book, just a few pages, where we see Hawk in his early 60s receiving a letter about what has happened to Tim. Yeah. And AIDS is not a part of that story. But that really intrigued me to think about seeing Hawk and Tim later in life and thinking about how their paths might have crossed throughout various decades. So I moved from 1991, the later part, to 1986, because the AIDS crisis was a very, very formative event in my life. In my personal life, but also in my professional life. And so I thought, well, let's put Tim in San Francisco in the middle of the AIDS crisis and have Hawk go to Tim to seek reconciliation, forgiveness. We're not quite sure. I don't think Hawk knows why he's going, actually, but just to see him again. And then I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we saw them some other times as well? So we have an episode set in the 60s, and we have an episode set in 1979 in Fire Island and San Francisco. During the weekend of the White Night riots. And so we get to interact with these two men, actually, and with three other characters as well, with Marcus, Frankie, and Lucy, by Jelani Aladdin, Noah Ricketts, and Allison Williams. The five of them go through 35 years of history together, and their relationships keep shifting and changing. And that's the essence of the story. And it was very ambitious. And we were encouraged to be ambitious by our studio and our network, which is a great thing. But thanks to Mr. Mallon's book, I learned about the Lavender Scare. I don't think he identifies it with that name in his book, but his book led me to the research and to see that there was a time in our history when we say the government purged or oppressed homosexuals, we don't mean in any kind of subtle ways. We mean that the President of the United States signed an executive order that banned sexual deviants or anyone suspected of being a sexual deviant from working for the federal government. And people were investigated by the FBI, sometimes often based on an anonymous tip. So somebody could have a resentment towards somebody in their office and just call up the FBI and say, I think this person's a homosexual, and their life would be ruined.
You can watch The Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For The Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.